Oh, here we are. We appear to be back. Am I allowed to be? Hey, there it says. Hi, everybody. I'm welcome back. Okay. Light bulb in one hand, cough in the other. It's only 9:59, but here we are. Oh, see. Those Egyptians had such great ideas. Really, have I left anything mysterious? I don't think so. Once more. Once more. Ah, okay. Good morning and welcome. My name is Abby Haggard, for those of you who are just joining the show. Um, and I am on a mission today to help us do something pretty gosh darned astonishing, let me tell you. I had the most incredible aha yesterday. And by the way, I'm 99 and 44, 100% better from the cold. I have a little lingering scratchy stuff, but that's perfectly okay. So, welcome back. Today being the 28th, I'm going to assume that you made it through Boxing Day and you made it through Christmas Day and you made it through the rushing around the day after Boxing Day and everything is fine. And for those of us involved in this lovely experience, this lovely live sharing, if you don't celebrate the great ho ho hoo ha, I hope you had so far an exceptional week, scoring high on the 1 out of 10 scale. So my goal during this holiday period, when I woke up one morning and discovered that I had caught a cold somehow, was to give myself permission to not flail, to not rush around like a mad thing. I gave myself permission because it has been a mad flailing year and a bit. And I said to myself, perhaps the universe has sent me this opportunity to rest and relax by hitting me behind one ear with whatever this was. It wasn't anything serious. It wasn't anything dangerous. It just was a good old fashioned, please, could I have some more soup, cold. And I was the only one here, so I always said yes whenever I had the strength to get up out of bed and do it. So I want to begin at the beginning of my purpose today by saying, first of all, welcome back. Secondly, I'm Abby Haggard. These videos, these live Facebook videos, this is episode 211. For those of you who are just joining us, have been doing these videos best I can every Tuesday, and Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Abbey time, which is Eastern time, New York City time. And I chose that time because historically it's when people start looking at the clock and wondering if it's too early for coffee break. They've been at work for a while, and what they want to be able to do is take a step back and reset. They want to breathe. They want to completely shift course, shift directions, change channels briefly in order to be fresh and refreshed when they come back. Hence the idea, well, let's give everybody 15 minutes to go do that. Let us look at the outcome of that step back and see what it does for us. And lo and behold, when that first was thought of, everyone said, well, would you look at that? 15 minutes is what it takes. And so 15 minutes has been a thing for me for a long time. It is the time it really takes us to ask and answer a question, basic level ask, basic level answer, time to take a couple of notes to remind ourselves that we want to dig deeper sometime. Ironically, there is a famous expression that someday everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. Andy Warhol was famous for saying. And what he meant by that is that everyone will have their moment in the sun as the earth rotates and the sun turns, everyone will have their moment. So part of my path in discovering how to do this better and easier, part of this learning journey of mine, is to figure that out, not just for me, but for us, because we're all in this together. My ancestors, my Viking ancestors, never got anywhere as the only ones in the boat. What we had to do was find the people interested in going in the same direction, on the same journey, and asking them, would you like a window or an aisle seat? Let's do this together. And it worked. They managed to go a lot of places very quickly. And so, I looked at that a long time ago when I was thinking about this new direction in my path. And I said, I've always been a navigator. I've always found another way, a fresh path. I have not only been a navigator, I've been a storyteller. And how I entertain people is by telling them, you're not going to believe this, and giving people permission to laugh and smile and say, oh my God, better her than me, and also learn life lessons, hopefully before they deal with them for the first time on their own. So I've without realizing it, I've been following in the footsteps of my people. We are navigators who tell stories. Vikings didn't have a written language. They left signs, little marks on stones or notches on trees, bent twigs, and all that kind of stuff to let you know. And when they came back from a journey, they would have a story about that monster of the deep, about there's an island we didn't know about. And they would tell these stories, and the stories they would tell would be fascinating and exciting and therefore memorable. And people who sat and listened to the stories would be fascinated, glad they came, and excited to find out for themselves. And that's basically how we change the world. And here I am still doing it. Here I am still figuring out how to fill up the seats on my boat. So as we move into 2024, I wanted to gift you something. We've done all the gift giving and the gift exchanging and the gift returning and the gift replacing. And I wanted to gift you with a very cool tool, because I know a lot about traveling. I have traveled more times than is even remotely necessary as far as I'm concerned, because I don't just come from Viking stock, but my dad was military. And the first time I got on a plane, apparently I was 3 months old. And I didn't like it then. And I haven't liked it since, because it's a whole lot of resorting and resetting and recalibrating that is exhausting. And a large part of me says, all I can say is when I get there, I better have a big, good, fabulous time for all of this. And I feel that way about a lot of things. I feel that we want to have the best time ever after we've invested all of our interest and our connection and our meaning and our hopes and our dreams. We want those expectations fulfilled. And rightly so. The thing is, most of us aren't taught how to do that. We get in the car and we sit there excited with no clear idea which way to go. We grab a bag and head for the airport with no clear idea what to expect. Did we pack the right stuff? Did we do our due diligence? Did we check? And the answer is probably not, because no one in our ordinary everyday lifetimes told us it would be necessary. Why? Because most of us don't travel that much. Many of us are going on vacations a couple of times a year, but more of us are not. More of us are not, believe it or not. Those of you who are standing in lines at airports, more of us are home. So I'm working, again, for those of you who are new to this whole thing, I'm working on a project to help people figure out the best path, and to help people figure out where to find their best energy and their best fresh, new eyes, and where to go and get that excitement that they stored away for a rainy day. And I've called this project Pivotry in Motion because it's kind of riffing on the old song. But what I'm really saying with Pivotry is that I want to give you the tools, and I want to teach you how to use them so that together we elevate a basic pivot to an art form. We can do it on the fly, on demand, without even thinking. And because we know we can, because we've practiced and perfected it, a lot of it are our uncertainty about, oh my gosh, is it going to be okay? Will I fit in? Will they like me? A lot of that we get to put away permanently. Because if they don't like this version of us, hang on, I got 1,000 more. And I'll just sort through the one until you say, ooh, can we have more? Yes, you can. So Pivotry, by my definition, is our ability to profile the situation really quickly, assess what they need to make them happy, and go retrieve that version of us that already exists. Turn ourselves like a diamond flashing in the light. Bring out that person. Allow that person to step forward. And create among everyone the you-are effect. This is what I know how to do. This is what I have spent my entire life learning, polishing, and perfecting, thanks to my military childhood and my show business career. And I said to myself, you know what? I can show you, and you can fly and be free. All we need to do is have these conversations. All we need to do is get on the same wavelength. And when my Pivotry book is finally published, these are the notes. These are my Pivotry notes. This is the book I'm using, but this is my gorgeous cover for any of you who haven't seen it. And it says, claim your hidden power and free yourself to be. And you see all those heavy, heavy trapped links have released their inner birds flying into their future. That's the concept. You like it? I hope you do. I hope you love it. So one of the things that occurred to me was a conversation based on a conversation that I had with a friend of mine. It's very funny. I laughed really hard because they were going away. And here's what happened. They reached into the closet for their suitcase and they pulled it out, and it felt heavy, and they opened it, and it was full of all the stuff from the last trip. They hadn't unpacked. So what happened was this. They got home exhausted because the trip home had been a nightmare with sprinkles on top. They got in the house after nightmare, put this suitcase down and said, that's it, I'm done, and went to bed. And then the next morning they overslept, the alarm went off, and they hit the snooze, and then they hit the snooze, and they hit the snooze, and suddenly that, oh my God, they got up, grabbed the stuff to wear for the day, and shot out the door. And when they got home, they were exhausted, and they thought, why is the suitcase still in the middle of the floor? And they kicked it into the closet. Never thought about it. Now, what do they have so much stuff that they have a second set of everything? Yeah. Now, mind you, what was in the suitcase was mostly, tropical stuff, and they were going to work in a non-tropical place. So that didn't cross their mind. But they always have a second set of the basic essentials, just in case something happens and they have to go to a hospital. They've got the little bag. So all they do when they pack to go away is they take the little bag and they put it in the bigger bag and they put this up. So as it turned out, the trip they were going on was not a holiday. It was a work trip. So like that's a bathing suit, towel, shorts. They're thinking, oh my God. And so what had to happen was, and of course they left everything to the last minute because they didn't really want to go on the business trip, but they had to go. So they're frantic, unpacking, figuring out where everything is, repacking, realizing the stuff that had stayed in the suitcase needed to be like stuff, right? And it was exhausting. And I said, there's a hack for that. There's an unpack the packing hack. And she said, well, you know what? When I get back from this trip, you're going to have to tell me about it. So today, what I'm sharing with you is not a suitcase. Unpack the packing. It is baggage. Today, well, good morning, Freddie. How wonderful to see you. Today, what I want to talk to you about is unpacking the baggage we don't know we have because it's invisible. And because it's invisible, we keep tripping over it because we forget that we just dropped it in the middle of the living room floor. And by baggage, what I'm talking about is the unfinished business that we never really resolved. The situations we didn't want to deal with at the time, and we just put them away for that future rainy day. And then, of course, about tomorrow's. Tomorrow is always tomorrow. We never get to tomorrow because today is always today. And there are a lot of people who have been talking for quite a while now about an idea that I really like. I really like the premise of it. And I'm going to share the idea with you so that I can share the gift. All right, I'm going to take one sip of this. Oh, that's such a good idea. Okay, here it is. There's a woman who has done, her name is Carolyn Miss, M-Y-S-S. Carolyn Miss, for a long time, has been working on a premise that when we come into the world, we arrive with a purpose that we don't know about. Now, this is not a conversation that is going to cause, I hope, it's not going to cause people to say, that's too woohoo for me, that's too crazy for me, I don't believe in that mumbo jumbo, that sounds crazy. I don't want to go there. I want us to have an interesting what if conversation, because the longer you think about it, the more interesting it gets. Well, good morning, Maddie. How wonderful to see you. So here's the idea that Carolyn Miss has been suggesting for decades now. And that is that when we come into the world, we come into the world with a purpose. And the purpose we come with is based on a contract we signed before we were born. Now, however we might have done that, in what form we might have done that, where, how, when, why, I don't want us to go there. Just think about the pure idea that before we came, we signed a contract. And the contract was an agreement to learn a lesson. And in the learning of this lesson, the premise that Carolyn Miss proposes is that we agree to allow ourselves to be challenged by this lesson over and over and over again until we learn it. There are expressions, people who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. It's a similar thing. If there is a lesson to be learned and we do not learn it, we will probably repeat it, and the consequences will be more severe until finally one day we say, ow, and decide not to do that. Here's your sign, bonk. And so I said to myself, okay, if I have signed a contract and the contract is with other people who are part of my lesson and learning process, then they have signed a similar contract. Now, I didn't sign it with them necessarily, and they didn't sign it with me necessarily. But if I signed a contract, now here's an example, it's my example. If I signed a contract to learn how to protect my boundaries, then I would have signed a contract permitting people to trespass my boundaries in various different ways, until the day I learned that the way to stop trespassing is to put up better boundaries, is to police those boundaries, is to take responsibility for my happiness, for my life. Always read the fine print. Yes, Freddie, always in the contract, read the fine print. So if this is true, and I'm supposing it could be true, then it is possible that those people who have their contracts and do not know what their job is, but possibly their lesson is to learn the fallout that comes from betrayal, from trespassing, from theft, from breaking trust, from causing pain. If that is the lesson they are here to learn, then they are on their path and I am on my path. And we are destined to meet. We don't know that it's going to be them. They don't know that it's going to be us. We are not conscious that this is the lesson we're going to learn until it hits us that this seems to be happening on a regular basis. And we say to ourselves, how interesting is that? Those people have nothing in common except for one thing. That happened. Do you suppose it's a pattern? Do you suppose it's a lesson? So that has been a lot of the work that I've done on me over the last little while, because a lot of things I have begun to notice in writing the pivot tree, in researching pivot tree, and interviewing all the beautiful people that I have interviewed to be part of the pivot tree project. I'm hearing people say similar things. And it's creating that little, ding, like the piano tuning for it, bong, and I'm resonating over here thinking, isn't that interesting? We need to learn how to reset, rethink. Why? Because we're being taught a lesson. And the lesson is saying to us, time to learn. Did you do your homework? Pop quiz. And so I said to myself, all right, I'm going to explore this path. I'm going to explore the idea that I may have signed a contract. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down, and I did this just a few days ago, I'm going to write down the situations and the people who engaged with me and I engaged with for any number of reasons, and whom, and I found myself at the same crossroads with. Eventually, we started off over here doing this, like this, like this, like this, and then suddenly at one point, bang, right there, bang. The old issue. Where did that come from? And I would try desperately to think back what the trigger might have been. Was there a lesson? Did they tell me who they were and I didn't see it or hear it, or did I ignore it? Were they trying to warn me without knowing it? And did I not see it, hear it, or did I ignore it? And you know what's very interesting? Yes, they did. Yes, they were. Yes, I was. And I said to myself, well, there's a lesson. There is a lesson. That great, brilliant, fabulous line from Maya Angelou, people tell us who they are from the moment they meet us. Why don't we believe them? We choose not to believe them. Why would we do that? Possibly because there is a lesson in there, and we have not yet learned it. And we have to follow the path till we reach that crossroads, until the moment happens. And we go through whatever our lesson is. And if it's firm enough and clear enough and loud enough, and we are facing the right way, and we say, hey, ow, I'm not doing that again. Lesson learned. And more often than not, when the lesson has been learned, we have a second set of choices. We walk away, licking our wounds, and carry forward. Or very rarely, once we've walked away and our wounds have healed, we find our way back to that person and say, I forgive you. Please forgive me. We're good. I have only done that once in my life. I've only done it once. I've never forgotten the moment when I saw the opportunity. I was in my car. I saw the other car. I pulled over to the side of the road and I sat there. And I said to myself, am I good? Am I healed? Did I learn? Yeah. Okay. Were there redeeming qualities in the other parts of that relationship? Yeah. Okay then. Time to own it. I parked the car and I went inside. The person saw me and they like this and I said, no, it's all good. I've come here to bury the hatchet. And the third person said, don't turn your back to the other person. I said, no. I've come here to bury the hatchet. And we shook hands. And curiously, that person reached out to me the other day. How are you? How have you been? I'm just checking in. And it was amazing. Because the lesson was learned. And we grew and we prospered in our own separate ways. Are we friends again? Not the same way. Could we be friends differently? Maybe. That's not the point. The point is that we resolved. We unpacked that baggage and we put it away. And so I don't trip over that baggage anymore. I have other baggage I trip over. I'm learning. So, I know that we are all busy, and I know that we all have stuff piled up around us that we've been meaning to get to. And I know that if I give you a hack and I say, just do this 3 times, you'll say, yeah, great idea. And then we get busy and we forget, right? So I'm going to give you a gift, a physical gift in a minute. But first, I want to get us to a place where you're ready for the gift. So I want to take us back to something I shared a few videos ago. And I call it the 5-finger breathing exercise. And I want to show it to you. And you can do it with me if you like. You can just sit there with your coffee and stare and think to yourselves, that woman is really, we love her, but So here it is. You're going to put up one hand like this, and you're going to use your index finger from your other hand. And what you're going to do is very simple. You're going to use your index finger to trace from the base of your thumb all the way down here. And you're just going to trace the outline of all the fingers to here and then back. Okay? You're not going to race through it. You're not going to slow through it. You're just going to do it. And then we're going to do the other hand. Okay? Now, while we do it, I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to think about anything else. So what I want you to do is I just want you to listen to the sound of my voice. Okay? Because I want you to focus on this. And I don't want you to think about how fast or slow to breathe. There's no instructions. I just want you to focus on this. So focus on my hand and listen to my voice. Okay? So we're starting here. And we're just going to trace along slowly around the outside edge of every finger. It's kind of soothing, actually, all the way to the end. And then we're going to come back. We're just going to do this, remembering to breathe. It's very simple. It's very gentle. It's not a whole lot going on. Just listening to my voice. That's the first one. And then we're just going to replace it. We're not thinking about anything else. We're just doing this. Just kind of cool. Sort of tingly. And all we're doing here is we're giving ourselves, instead of a 15 minutes, we're giving ourselves essentially a 15-second break. All right, now here's the gift. I've written a contract and I've saved it as a PDF. And I'm going to explain the contract to you. I'm going to read it to you. And then this is my gift to you. All you need to do is send me a message. You can DM me, okay? On Facebook. Send me a message on YouTube. Reach out to me if you have my other contact information. And all you have to say is, please send me the PDF, okay? Because this is the physical tool to consciously, purposefully unpack the baggage and at least get rid of that one impediment that's in the way. By making it physical, there's two things you need to do to it. One is you need to write the name at the top, and the other is you need to write your name at the bottom, because it's a contract. And it is not the contract that you originally signed, if in fact you did. This is the contract terminating that contract. This is the permission physically you are giving yourself to release and forgive and ask forgiveness. So I'm going to bring it up close to the screen. So I'll disappear for a minute because I want you to see it. So here it is. So it's in two parts. The top is just the header, but inside the dotted line is the contract. Okay? Now, whether it's in focus or not, I can't tell. But this is what it says, okay? I have to take my glasses off. It says, the top is the part you keep, all right? And I've called it my learning journey contract, okay? The first line is to, and you're going to write the name of the person that you believe you came into contact with to learn a lesson on your learning journey. So this is what it says. As I tear up this paper, I cancel this contract between us. Thank you for the path you chose and the role you played in my learning journey. I forgive you, release you, and wish you well. I ask you to forgive me. At the top, what it says is this. 2, whatever our agreement was, whatever our mutual lesson was, I thank you, forgive you, and release you. I ask you to forgive me. And the reason I created this, and I'm going to be putting this in my members vault of tools, and I'll be including this in the workbook, in the Pivotry in Motion collection of books, because I want you to have tangible hands-on tools. It's not enough to say unpack the bag, because if you knew how to unpack the bag, you already would have unpacked the bag. It's not enough to say just be, just do. If you knew how, you already would have. So the people who are giving you the cheerleading are not giving you the training. This is part of the training. This is the practice. And in anticipation of having this contract, and I literally, when I created this, the reason I put this in a dotted line box is that I tore that box into. I tore up this part of the contract. I release you as I tear this paper. I release you. I forgive you. I ask you to forgive me. And I'm keeping the pieces. I'm keeping the top and I'm keeping the pieces. And I'm keeping them in the later folder. Because it's a folder, it has the little pockets. I'm keeping these contracts I have canceled. Why? As a reminder. Because if I meet someone new and I have the feeling that this lesson may not have been learned completely, I can go and retrieve the piece of paper and I can remember the journey with those people. And I can ask myself if this is similar. I can say to myself, am I still needing to understand some responsibility of mine that I can't see or hear, and therefore I can't value? And the reason I think it's important is, I was talking to somebody yesterday. It was a great conversation about the fact that the hard wiring is done early. We don't know it's there because it was done before we were even thinking. So periodically, it does its own reset. And we have to make sure it doesn't. And I said to this fellow in the middle of this conversation, have you ever gone into your bank statement? Have you ever gone, do you have a payment system, PayPal or whatever? Have you ever gone and looked at the payments that come out automatically? Occasionally, I do it every year when I'm doing my, putting my receipts together for my taxes. And I have found that I have somehow remained subscribed to something that I didn't want. And that when I unsubscribed, I didn't delete the automatic payment. That the contract with whomever that was had reset itself because I hadn't canceled it. And I see a lot of people posting on social media that they got a bill for something and they thought they had canceled it. And they called and they said, oh, no. I had a situation this last year because I'm the executor of my friend Dave's estate. I got a phone call from some company that said, you owe us this much money. And I said, no, I don't have a contract with you. I've never heard of you. And they said, well, we have a contract with Dave. And I said, well, Dave is no longer with us. And they said, well, you needed to tell us that. And I said, did you send a bill? No. Well, if you didn't send a bill, how is anyone supposed to know? Well, we're sending you the bill now. No, sorry. He's been gone a long time. That bill will not be paid. You needed to notify. Well, that's not the way it works. Well, that is the way it works. And then I talked to the lawyer and the lawyer said, yeah, it's good for you. So that in our lives, in our real lives, in our conscious feet on the ground lives, contracts get renewed, agreements get automatically renewed, bills get sent automatically without our awareness. Isn't it possible that a learning journey, a life journey contract would renew, maybe, if we weren't aware and we didn't go in and cancel it. So part of the task in the physical doing of this is to have us paying attention. Instead of saying, I wish this, oh look, squirrel, and we don't finish our wish, or we have an intention and we're saying our intention, or we've followed some video and we have a meditation that we're supposed to say 3 times at the stroke of something, and we're in the middle of it, our stomach growls and we think, oh, I'm hungry, and we don't complete. It's very easy to do that when we don't have a physical, tangible thing in our hands standing in our way of getting distracted. Hence, the thing that doesn't allow us to get distracted. So, the other day, I realized when I heard from my friend that was a huge lesson that I learned. And curiously, a part of my brain said, you know what? It's happened before. And I sat down with my notebook, with my famous daily notebook, in which I am writing everything and reminding myself, and it's almost full because I'm almost at the end of the year and I have a new book for the new year waiting in the wings. I said, just out of curiosity, I'm going to think of every situation in which I was blindsided in a similar way. I'm going to try to remember every time I walked away from that situation and felt betrayed, felt somehow that the Viking had suddenly, surprisingly, become a victim. How did that happen? Which corner of my boundary was I not paying attention to? How did that sneak up on me? And as I made the list of what felt similar, I was really surprised by the number of people, by the frequency, by the timing, by the hurry that was in, the rush I was in, the assurance I gave myself that it's okay, I can handle it, it's not that bad. And I carried on instead of addressing it. This thing I'm saying to everyone in Pivotry, that we are ready when it's not that bad, hits a wall, and it's suddenly no longer good enough. That is when we are ready to say, change is only hard when I didn't think of it. I just thought of it. Here we go. So this tool, this gift that I'm offering to you, if you don't take me up on it now, that's fine. It will be in the workbook. And when you get your copy of the workbook, it'll be there and you can copy it out. When you are part of my family, my member family, when the website is up, when the Pivotry project is up and running, you can be part of our member club and you can get access. You can get access to all the things that will be available then, because you're part of the family, you're part of the membership. So it will all be there. This is not a one-time only offer and oh my gosh, what am I going to do? However, if you want me to send you the PDF, I will be honored to do that for you. And most importantly, I will be honored to do that for you before the end of the year. Why? Because we are going on a journey, you and I. We're entering 2024. And we have to pack a bag. And if the bag is already full, we have to unpack it. The question is how? There's the answer. The question is when? The answer is now. And anytime we feel that we may have tripped over a lesson we haven't finished learning, we have the opportunity to pull this out of our later folder, the one that isn't torn up, and look at it and say, what was our agreement? What is the lesson I came to learn? Why is this happening again? Because I'm not suggesting that your lesson is betrayal. I'm not suggesting that your lesson is any of my lessons. I'm saying that as we are growing and as we are evolving and as we are getting gooder at the things that are our superpowers, we have things to give thanks for, to recognize and put away. How we do that is made easier when I give you the tool, correct? So that is available. The other thing I want to tell you that is part of this, getting ready to unpack, getting ready to sort and pack, I'm going to give you 3 words. And I will be using these words frequently as we move forward now. So you don't have to frantically remember them. You don't have to frantically write them down unless you want to. And if you want to, awesome. Because we will be closer and closer on the same page when I talk about them next time, right? So there's an interesting thing about words. And I'm the words girl. I applied for the numbers girl and the singing girl. People suggested that I go and line up at the words table because those words are my superpower. The others are really interesting things that cause the utmost damned astonishment, and I am all in for that. However, for the greater good and the longer path, words are my thing. So there are 3 words that I want to talk about, and they are part of this contract. They are part of this decision making. They are part of this readiness and awareness, okay? So the first word is mind. Beep. Now the mind, what people are referring to when they talk about the mind, is all the stuff going on here, all of it. So the emotional primitive subconscious mind that is basically our systems and maintenance engineer that makes sure everything is running. Okay. So primitive, so early, driven by emotion, life or death, fix or die, maintain or die. It's all it knows. It does simple repetitive functions better than any other systems or maintenance engineer you ever saw. Faster, more efficiently than any computer ever devised. It is what keeps us alive. It is what allows us to drive and think about what we're having for dinner at the same time. It reminds us of triggers, our fight, flight, freeze, hide, primitive survival techniques. That's all run by our maintenance and systems engineer. The thinking brain that comes along as we reach our 1s and 2s and 3s and 5s is in the middle. And that's the one that knows what's going on now and deals with things like you can't wear pajamas to work. Why not? And chooses the clothes and suggests that we probably need to sit behind the wheel and did we get gas before we parked the car? And then there's other parts of the brain in between, but the big three, the big third part of the mind is the part in the front. It's called the prefrontal cortex. And this evolves as we are in our teens and early 20s. And this is the part of the brain that understands cause and effect, that understands that if we go out drinking late the night before the final exam, we may regret it. for the long term. This part of the brain and that part of the don't care, don't know. When you put all these together, we have a mind. We have 3, 5, 7, 9, all the different parts of the mind, the different brain functions in our mind. And when they all work together, they allow us to be and do and think and feel and remember. That is our mind. We are not alone in this journey. We, no man or woman or creature is an island. We are all connected in some way, shape, or form. Whether we have the conversation about energy and molecules and things bumping into each other, the mere ripple effect of I did this and that, not that, and this fell over and that fell down, and the next thing I knew, the cat got wet and climbed up the tree and it fell over, and I spent 7 hours cleaning up all the mess, which is why I didn't have dinner ready for Christmas. We're all connected. That is proof that we are all members of an entity, a reality, a path. We are all members on this journey. We're all members of the team on the boat. And the third word that I want you to think about is turn. We are all turning. We are all rotating. We are all vibrating. We are all in motion all the time. Every action, reaction, physics, laws of physics, laws of energy. We are always constantly turning, correct? 3 words we absolutely know the meaning of. We know what the mind is. We know what a member is. We know what a turn it is, correct? Okay, here's a really strange thing that happens. When we put the letters R and E in front of those words, remind, remember, return. You know what happens? We come up with a completely different meaning. The mind is what runs the machine in all its different ways. What does remind mean? We don't understand the word remind to mean reset, reevaluate, reexamine all the different functions. Remind is a tap on the shoulder. I have a grocery list. I use it to remind myself what to buy. Okay, so then remind has changed the word. What if we go back? What if we say, but what if I want to re-examine, to re-explore, to rediscover all the skills and the gifts that I have, all the tools that are at my disposal? What if I want to understand this freshly? There, Mr. Chris, no problem. You can rewatch. You can rewind. You can watch this again because live is live. Good morning, Chris. I hope you're well today. On a scale of 1 to 10, I hope you're right up there at the top. So if remind is actually an invitation we make to ourselves to have a fresh look at all of our superpowers and all the things they do, and pay attention to all the things they do. You know, these silly people who say, don't let your emotions get away with you. Okay. 95% of the work that is done in this machine is run by the subconscious brain that is completely run by emotion and feeling. Good luck. Good luck with that. It's like, tell that brain to stop us from blinking when something's in our eye. Go ahead. If it says, oh yeah, no blinking, all right, I'll make your eye water and get that thing out of there. Don't let your emotions run away with you. And denial is not a river in Egypt. So remind. One of the tasks in looking at our baggage is, what are we doing with the words we're using and the things we're saying and the instructions we're giving ourselves? Are we did we bump our heads this morning? So if we can re-examine, re-evaluate, reconnect with the different functions and become aware of what they do, the mystery is solved. And we can see why we have a knee-jerk reaction to something. What triggered us? Well, that was a contract we have not yet resolved. That is a lesson we have not yet learned. That is a scar that is not yet healed. As soon as we can identify it, we can write it down. As soon as we write it down, we can give thanks. We can release the person involved in the lesson, forgive them, ask forgiveness, and tear it up. With great powers come great responsibilities. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Fred. The second word, remember. Okay. Remember has come to be a word that means unforget. How do we unforget something? Well, we get the grocery list to remind us. Are you seeing a pattern here? What if a member is part of the team, part of the group, part of the process, part of the series of functions that have to work together, that have to come together to make this whole thing operate? What if some of those members are no longer qualified? What if those members are no longer required? What if they are outdated, outmoded, have served their time? What if they are broken beyond repair? We can replace them. We can remember our team. We can refill the seats on our boat. We can recalibrate based on the new member's abilities. We can restore our power, our purpose, and our passion if we reconnect to our earlier decisions, why we chose those members to be on our team, to be on our boat. How many of those members did we invite because without our conscious knowledge, they were here to help us learn? What if they volunteered because they were here to have us help them learn? If we know who they are and we've learned the lesson, we can release them. We can thank them. We can let them go. We can forgive them and ask them to forgive us for any pain that was caused in the learning. How incredible is that? Return, pivoting, return. We now see it when we put the re in front of turn. We now see it as a coming back, as a revisiting. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that a return has become in our minds a going back to a previous place to re-examine, to re-evaluate, remind, remember, return, have all become words tapping us on the shoulder. Hey, hey, I brought you back here for a purpose. Pay attention. It's time to let it go. This is the message we're being given, but we're so busy, we don't hear the message as it is. We have called it something else. Return. Yes, I'm returning a book. Remind. Yes, grocery list. We're not listening. Why? Well, we're listening to too many things. We have too many things on the go. We're trying to multitask. And we all know that multitasking, my definition of multitasking, is doing many things badly. So if the return is us not going back to where we were, but finding a better way to get where we're going, a reconnection to all the energies that intersect with us, a fresh way to ride the ripples from all the contacts we make. Isn't that interesting? So one of the other tools that is going to be in the toolbox, in the members toolbox, is going to be the conversation about the 3 words. Our 3 words for our lives moving forward are not remind, remember, return. No, they're remind, remember, return. It's a fresh beginning, my lovelies. It's a bold new way to enter the year of the dragon. I am so excited to share this with you. It's the 28th. We have time to consider. We have time to watch the video again. We have time to make notes about remind and remind, remember and remember, return and return. We have time, anytime, to come back to this video, to reach out to me and say, send me the PDF. I have a bunch of contracts I need to cancel. And it will be my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to do that. So I have a sneaking suspicion that you're going to hear from me this weekend. Because after all, it's the new year, right? It's a new year and new things to think about and new directions and exciting new opportunities. Time to seize our moment. Because our journey begins. And we are at a place where we can claim the hidden power and free ourselves to be. We can do that. We know it exists. We know how it works. We can make it happen. Together, thee and me. So on that note, I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you for telling your friends that this is kind of a cool thing to stop in and visit Abbey World for a few minutes, a couple of times a week. I want to thank you for helping me grow the tribe. I want to thank you for your comments that make me smile. You have no idea. I want to wish you all the fun, happy sigh moments coming into 2024, starting with this moment now, because this is the only moment we have that we know we are. Be good to you. You deserve it. Hug your loved ones. Thank you for